I'd like to welcome everybody to Addict Thoughts Entertainment page. My name is James, alcoholic and addict, and I got a special guest today, Bob Dillon. So I'll let him introduce himself and give you a little background on him, and then we'll get started on the topic for today.
Right on. Yeah, like James said, I'm Bob. I'm an alcoholic and an addict as well. I've got 2 years, 7 months, a week, and a few days sober at this point now. And I'm just here to give my opinions and, a couple different points of views on a couple things with changing people's places and things.
All right, so yeah, that's the topic today, people, places, and things. It's important in early recovery that we make some changes in those areas because if we go back to hanging around the old people that we hung around when we're in our addiction, then more than likely we're going to go back to those same behaviors and pick up the alcohol and drugs and places and things as well. So we're going to touch each topic one at a time, just to kind of give you our experience on it and give you two different points of view on it. And if you're in one of those situations, maybe you'll get some experience, strength, and hope on it. So I'll let Bob start. So for the people aspect of it, what was it like for you in early recovery?
Well, when I was at the worst of my using and drinking, I was doing everything pretty much by myself. I was getting high with one guy. He was the only person that I knew that I would feel comfortable going through for this stuff, because he wasn't going to tell people I was doing heroin. I mean, people knew I was on drugs, obviously, but I thought I was keeping it cool. And I only did it with one guy. So, I mean, I completely distanced myself from all of my old friends that I used to sell drugs with, everybody that I used to do drugs with, because I went into detox just trying to get my people off my back. And then I ended up finding a treatment center while I was in there, because once again, I was trying to get somebody off my back, so I figured I'll try this 30-day place, you know what I mean? And then when I was in that place, I actually started to realize a few things, I found out, man, maybe I should give this a shot. Maybe I should try to change my life. And so I cut ties with everybody. I didn't answer. I blocked a bunch of numbers. I didn't answer phone calls to any old people that I used to hang out with. I didn't let anybody really know what I was doing until I felt like I was strong enough in my sobriety to actually talk to those people again. So there may have been 2 or 3 people that I hung around with that were old friends, but they weren't doing the stuff I was doing. They weren't getting high. They weren't going out and getting drunk. They didn't have problems like I had with drugs and alcohol. So for me, it was about just distancing myself in the early sobriety and getting grouped up with some new people. I went to meetings. I still continue to go to meetings now, even with over a couple of years under my belt. And it just helped me build a support group, if I wanted to go out and do something that I used to do, like hang out in a social setting, doing something that I haven't done in a while, that I used to go get high or drunk and doing. But I had to build relationships with new people that had like-minded ideas, like staying sober. So that's what I did with the people in early sobriety. Cut ties with all the old friends until I felt like I had enough time to where I could go back around them. I didn't even chance putting myself in a situation like, oh, my dude's still out there selling drugs, I'm gonna go hang out at the trap house with him. But it's cool, I'm sober, It's not good, Don't. They say if you go in a barbershop and sit there long enough, you're gonna get a haircut, right? So don't go in the trap house and sit around there long enough, you might end up doing some drugs. Change those people for sure in early sobriety until you feel comfortable going somewhere else later on down the road. Get some sober support, get some people with like-minded ideas like yourself.
Absolutely. Very well said. And my experience was when I got out of treatment, I was homeless. I didn't have any place to go. I visited some sober living houses at the time, and they was going to go right back into my old neighborhood, and we'll get to that in places. But for the people, I moved up to Columbus, so I was in a different area. And I'm not saying that geographical change works or anything like that. I'm still taking me with me. But it afforded me the opportunity to come to Columbus, and I only knew people in recovery, and I built my support network, like Bob said, in the rooms and in the meetings. And so I only know sober people in Columbus, and that's what really helped me. I wasn't able to be around the old people that I knew. So it helped me tremendously in my situation to be able to make new friends in recovery that and I can go places with and do things with in a sober way. So that really helped me out as far as changing my people that I hung around. Now we'll say places. So we have to change our places. So I'll let Bob start and give the experience on how he did that.
Yeah, James said that he moved to a different place and he took him with him. Well, I stayed in the same place. You know, I was in the south side of Columbus, doing all my drugs and everything. People that I got it off of was in the south end of Columbus. And I ended up moving into a sober house where I had, you know, people dealing crack over here on this side, and then people doing meth and overdosing and being pulled out of their houses in body bags across the street. People growing weed next door. But you know, I was dead set on what I wanted to do with myself. I was dead set on getting sober and staying sober, and I didn't pay any attention to all that stuff, man. It was like, if we wanted some entertainment too, we'd just go out front and sit on the front porch and just watch the cops go up and down the street and take care of all these people out here. And, you know, it was cool, I guess. I mean, not seeing all that happen, obviously, but I could stay in the same place that I was in because, like, I changed the people and I had that solid support group, so I could stay where I was at. I didn't even think about a geographical cure. I mean, I was on probation. I couldn't really go too many places, but I stayed in the same area, man, because I had my mind set on what I wanted to do. But don't ever forget, you do take yourself with you, man. And if you're not serious about it, it's probably not going to work out for you. They say that the hurt has to outweigh the habit before you're serious. And, you know, if you're not desperate, you're not done. So that's something that I like to keep in mind when I was getting sober as well. A couple of the cliches I heard that really hit home with me. So I stayed where I was at, but I took those people and those resources that I acquired early in sobriety, and I kept strong with those.
Very well said. Very well said. And as I alluded to earlier, I did change my place of residence. I came to Columbus, and what I want to touch on is really in early recovery. You know, after we get out of treatment, we start feeling good. Our head starts getting clear. We get employment, we clean up nice, and we get a couple new outfits, and we start falling back into some denial, thinking that everything is okay. So we have to be very, very careful in early recovery about the places we go, such as, you know, bars are not a good place to hang out in early recovery. Concerts, be careful. If you do go to some of these places, take some sober support with you, like Bob talked about. He ran with a lot of different guys early in recovery, and so did I. So I would take those people with me, places that I felt that I might not feel safe at. I always had somebody with me, always had an exit plan. If I felt uncomfortable, I drove myself so that I could be able to leave when I wanted to. So in early recovery, just be very cautious and very cognizant of where you're going and how, you know, if things do arise, have a plan to have people you can call, have a way to get home if you're feeling uncomfortable. And these are all important things very early on. And I know it sucks. Early recovery sucks sometimes because you say, well, do I have to worry about where I go at all times? No, when you get some years, Bob has almost 3 years, I have 7 years. We don't have to give it a second thought right now, you know, because we're comfortable in our sobriety, and we know when we're uncomfortable, we know what to do and how to do it. But very early on, it's hard to fight those temptations when you get in there, you know. I don't know how many people in early recovery I've talked to that relapse just in Roosters, you know, going to get some chicken wings, and with the bar right there, it's tough. So don't put yourself in any kind of test situations or, you know, struggles like that, because it's very hard. And the last thing is things. So what kind of things do we need to change?
Well, a couple things I changed early on. Some of, like, the way that I dressed, the way I carried myself, and the way that I talked about myself and other people, and how I referred to, I mean, just how I referred to people, it was pretty offensive, the things that I would say. One thing that was a huge thing for me to change when I was still in inpatient treatment is instead of referring to women as bitches, referring to them as women. And then later down the line, actually treating them as women instead of that too, because someone brought it to my attention, you can't just call them women and still treat them like bitches, you know what I mean? So that had to come later down the line as well. Some of the things that I changed with the way I dressed, you know, I would wear clothes that were a little too big, you know. I was putting on a bunch of necklaces and change, and I had fronts in my teeth, and it wasn't me. And I was trying to project a strong outward image, so somebody wouldn't have to ask like, oh, who is this guy? They could just see who I am. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have to get to know me. So I mean, I carry myself a bit different nowadays, and now that I've got a little bit of time as well, I've learned how to be what I would consider a more respectable person, a more respectful person. I have manners now. I don't just expect people to give me things just because of who I am or whatever.
Mm.
I've gained a lot of good attributes now that I've got this time in. It's directly from, I would say, working a program. And it might not be the thing for everybody, but it worked for me, so that's what I can tell you is what helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Some other things, man. I found myself a hobby. I like to go out and shoot pool now. Didn't even know I was good at it until I started doing it in sobriety. So it wasn't something that triggered me because it's not something I did before when I was getting high and drunk. So I found something to do that I can control, and if I ever need to clear my head, I can just go shoot by myself and put in some headphones and just relax and just let everything go, man, and just think about stuff. I had to give myself an outlet just to get away from everything, man, because when you get stuck up here in your head, sometimes it's a dangerous place to be. It could be, you get stuck in your own thoughts for long enough, man, you're going to end up going down a slippery slope. It's not good. So, just a couple things that I decided to change about myself, man, a couple things that helped me.
Absolutely. And I'm with you on that, the whole, dressing like a thug. I mean, I always, portrayed myself as a thug, evidence of tattoos and tattoo on my face. And I tried to wear those masks to fit in, and be something that I wasn't, for many, many years. And those are things that had to change, the way I talked, Bob hit on it, the way I dressed women, the way I treated women, all that stuff I had to change, those things about me, because if I didn't change those things, that street mentality is going to take me right back, and it was hard to hear at first, my sponsor used to tell me, pull your pants up, or why are you wearing those clothes so big, and things like that. And I would get so pissed, I would be like, this is me, and it was so ingrained in me that this is me, but it really wasn't. It was just masks that I was wearing to feel like I had to fit in with the people that I hung around. And today, I'm a whole 360 or 180 degrees different than what I was back then. I'm a professional. I like to, I speak differently. I don't use those slang words as much as I, used to. I still left a little bit of me in me, but I changed a lot of things in that area. And like Bob said too, finding things that we like to do in sobriety. There's things I never thought I would do. I just signed up for a scuba diving class. To try to learn how to scuba dive. I never would have did those in addiction. Never would have. I love to write. I love to do different things that I found out about myself that I never thought I would ever be able to do, because the addiction had me stronghold. It had me, put myself down, low self-esteem, low self-worth. I didn't think I was capable of any of these things, but I found out that in recovery, anything is possible. Anything is possible, and we can live our lives and be as successful as we want to. Sky's the limit, and so yeah, those are some of the things I changed. You got any closing statements?
Just another thing, man, that helped me get out of my head when I was going through treatment was journaling every day. I still have my journals from when I was in there for 30 some odd days, and even when I was living in sober living for a couple months after, I journaled every single day, and I still look back on them even now sometimes, man. When I get in my own head nowadays, because it's going to happen. Even years down the line, you're going to get in your head. I've seen people with 10 years fall off. And they just thought that they had it, man, but they weren't talking to people, they weren't getting them thoughts out of their head. An outlet for me to get things out of my head was journaling, and I don't know if anybody else can relate out there, but it was huge in my early sobriety, man, getting that stuff out of my head. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to bring you more and more videos. I know Bob's coming back. So we're gonna continue giving you these videos.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe to the page, and be on the lookout for more videos. Addict Thoughts Entertainment. James, Bob,
Take
we're
it
out.
easy.